Are you tired of boring mashed potatoes? Then you're in for a treat. We're going to make my creamy and delicious scalloped potatoes from scratch. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today, our celebration is all about potatoes. We're going to make scalloped potatoes. Let's get started. Now, what are scalloped potatoes? It's not something that comes from a box. Real scalloped potatoes, it's layered casserole, kind of made like lasagna. It's layers of potatoes and onions and a creamy sauce that's built up in a dish and then baked together. Now, you might be wondering, what's the difference between scalloped potatoes and potatoes au gratin? A gratin has cheese and usually a breadcrumb crust, whereas scalloped potatoes, traditionally, they don't have cheese in them. So that's really the difference. The first thing I did was I preheated my oven to 375 Fahrenheit, which is 190 Celsius. Now I'm doing this in a baking pan. This is mine, and it's all prepared. This is a 9 by 12 baking dish, or 23 by 33 centimeters. And all I did was I took about 2 tablespoons of softened butter, greased the inside with it with my hands, got it all nice and even. You could use baking spray, but butter is going to taste better. Let's get this out of the way for a minute, and we're going to talk about the potatoes. I have a big bowl of sliced potatoes. These are Yukon Golds. Now, Yukon Gold potatoes are waxy. They have a little lower starch than, say, a russet potatoes. And they have a very thin skin, so they don't need to be peeled. Now, this waxy potato is going to make this dish a lot creamier and more tender and delicious. This is about 3 pounds or a little over a kilo. And I've sliced it to about 1/8 of an inch, which is about 3 millimeters. I did this on my mandolin. And you may be wondering, what's a mandolin? How do I use it? We did a basic skills episode about that, and I'm going to leave you a link to that episode so you can learn all about it. But I have one more potato to do, so I'll show you quickly how easy it is. This is a mandolin, and the most important thing is this is the guard for the mandolin. You see chefs on TV doing this with their bare hand. Don't ever do that. Always, always use the guard. But it really is simple. You put it on and you hold it and you just slide back and forth. This blade is super, super sharp. So you can go pretty quickly. All right, all sliced. And look, my hand is protected by that guard. And what do I end up with? I end up with a pile of uniformly sliced potatoes. All right, that's all about the potatoes. Let's talk about the rest of the ingredients that go into this. The first is onions. I have 1 large onions that I just cut it into half-moon slices. Pretty easy. I did that just with a chef's knife. And chives. I have fresh chives that I just chopped up. It's about 3 tablespoons. All right, next, we're going to make a bechamel sauce, and that's going to hold this all together. Bechamel sauce is one of the 5 mother sauces. We did a whole series of basic skills on all the 5 mother sauces, so I'll leave a link to that episode as well so you can learn how to easily make a bechamel sauce. But today we're going to start in my saucepan. I'm going to get some heat under it, medium-low. I'm going to start with butter. I have 2 sticks, which is 226 grams. It also measures out to 16 tablespoons of butter. This is real butter, not margarine, right in our pan. We're going to get this melting. Just going to give it a minute to start melting and get all bubbly and wonderful. All right, my butter is all melted and hot. Now we need to add some flour. I have here 16 tablespoons of flour, which weighs out to about 130 grams. We're just going to pour this in and whisk it until it's combined. We want to whisk this until it becomes a paste, and then we're going to let it cook until that raw flour taste cooks out. It takes just a minute or 2. We don't want this to brown any further. This is called a roux, and this is the base of the bechamel sauce. All right, that's ready. Now we add our milk. I have 32 ounces, 950 mils of whole milk. I'm gonna add this in and stir it constantly. Why am I using whole milk? You must use whole milk to make this. You cannot use 2% or 1% or fat-free. You cannot use almond milk or oat milk. It won't work. You must use whole milk. All right, I'm just gonna stir this, let this get warm, and it's gonna start thickening up. While that's happening, we're gonna season it with some salt and pepper to start. And then some nutmeg. This is a whole nutmeg, and I'm going to just use my little rasp and I'm going to grate this in. If you're using pre-grated, you could do a teaspoon. I'm going to do a little less because this is fresh nutmeg and it's very powerful. More powerful than what you get in the pre-ground. All right, I'm just going to let this heat and stir it until it starts to thicken. Alrighty, it's time to assemble our potatoes. Now the sauce, I cooked it for about 6 minutes. It's a little thinner than normal, but I want it to be because I want it to go between the layers of this potatoes in this casserole. And if it gets too thick on you, you can just add a little more milk and thin it back out. We're gonna start by taking some slices of potato and just layering it on the bottom of the pan. This doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to have every space covered, but we're just going to put a layer of potatoes down. And don't worry, while your potatoes are sitting here, if they start to turn a little brown, it won't hurt anything. All right, that's our layer of potatoes. I'm going to add some onions. Good sprinkling, just scattered haphazardly about. Same thing with the chives. Good pinch. Just scattered. Here's the most important step, salt and pepper. We need to salt and pepper every layer because potatoes need a lot of salt. Now we're going to do some bechamel. I'm just going to take a few ladlefuls. Now you see this is a lot thinner than you may expect it to be, but that's what you want. This will thicken up in the oven. Now another layer of potatoes. We're going to keep going like this till we get 3 or 4 layers. You may have some potatoes left over, and that's okay. All right, this is my last layer. I've done 4 layers. I'm right at the top here. I'm going to hit it with salt and pepper. Now I have a lot of potatoes left over because I cut them so thinly, and that's okay. If your pan will take it, you can do more layers even, but I'm not going to waste these. I'll be using these for something else. And I'm going to use every drop of this on the top here. And now some more chives just on top. Kind of generously. Next step is I'm going to cover this with foil and I'm going to bake it for a whole hour. Then I'm going to remove the foil and we're going to bake it for another 30 to 45 minutes until the top is golden brown and the potatoes are all cooked through. So it's off to the oven. Here we are out of the oven and this looks and smells wonderful. Now if you remember, I put this in the oven covered with foil and I baked it for an hour. After an hour, I took off the foil and I baked it for another 45 minutes. When that was over, I checked it with my little paring knife, putting it through to make sure that all the potatoes were cooked all the way through, and they were. Now, the best thing about a dish like this is you can make this well in advance. You can make this a few days in advance, keep it wrapped up tightly in your fridge. You could even freeze it. It freezes and will last in your freezer for months, and you can just reheat it. All right, just like a lasagna, I like the little crispy edges, so I'm gonna go in right here in this corner. Ooh, all those layers. Wow, look at that. Now you note it's all holding together, and that's because we let it rest once it came out of the oven so that all that heat could dissipate, it could just relax and firm up. I think I want a little sprinkle of chives right here. Why not? Let's get in there. Wow. Hold on. Yeah. It's creamy. Potatoes are perfectly done. They're not mushy, excuse me, but they're cooked all the way through. Get that nice oniony flavor. And then the chives add a little grassy note to it. This is perfection, especially if you like potatoes. This is the way to go. Once you make it like this, you'll never, ever make it from a box again. You'll just throw them out, walk past them in the store. This is worth it. All right, as always, if you like this episode, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell, and you'll get a new episode every single week. Now I'm going to go serve this to my family for dinner because they're upstairs in the dining room pounding and waiting for me. While I do that, I want you to watch some of these episodes over here. So until next time, everyone, cheers!